Hello, guys. Welcome to the breakdown with Tanya and Johanna.
We are back.
Yay. Hey, you used my word. Hey.
See, I know. I picked it up. Every time I get on here, it's what comes out of my mouth.
This is what happens when you start spending too much time with your co-host. You start picking up each other's habits. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we have really beautiful sayings and habits. No, it's not bad. So guys, we are so this episode we are going to be bringing on a woman, a lovely woman. I'm excited for this one because listen, I got to tell you before I even say like what this is about or like what happened. So this is how this came about, right? You guys all know, for those of you who are new, you don't know, but for those of you who do follow me, I am a tarot reader and I'm a reader and I'm in a part of a lot of groups and I like to watch other people read and channel and give messages and all different kinds of people. You don't necessarily have to be a tarot reader. But there was one woman I found within a group that really caught my eye. And she was working with angel cards. And I've worked with angel cards, oracle cards, the whole shebang, but she kept bringing up a term that I wasn't really familiar with. And I was like, what is this? Like, what is she talking about? What is Akalani? What is this? And what I found was, I kind of went down that rabbit hole. I looked her up because I was like, I need to know what this is about because she was utilizing it and she was saying, how this is a healing term and a healing modality that she uses. And it's something that was actually originated. She's from Australia. Her name is Leeorah Hursky. And I'm going to let her explain what Akalani is because she's going to do the best. But just know this, guys, what I really loved about this, and I was like, I need to have her on the show because it's really important, is that this is something that was developed originally, something channeled. Now, as a collective, there's nothing really original. It's just the fact that it gets down into us where we have our unique modalities. Johanna's very familiar with this. She has her own healing modalities. I have my own healing modalities. I'm still learning my healing modality. But this woman had taken off her modality of Akalani, and I really would love for her to just pop on here. She's also the author of 4 books, Naked Soul, Emotional Fat, Puppets on a String. I'm going to bring Leeorah Hursky on here. Let's welcome her. Hello, Leeorah.
Hi.
Hello. So I'm really excited because when I was on, I really didn't know what Akalani was. And when you had said it had, when I was reading it, and it was like you had worked with the Hawaiian Kahunas, and that is something that was not just like you got a quick download, that this took years to come down. I really would like to just know, what is this? What is this that you are using with your cards or with this magic spray? Can you dive into us as to what it's about?
Sure, Tanya. I'll actually dive into how I became trained in order to receive this download. So I was studying naturopathy in Sydney. And while I was studying naturopathy, the Hawaiians had traveled to Australia. And I saw this body work and I just went, that's it. That has my name written all over it, and that's for me. And I was determined to train with them. But the training with them is not a normal training. And there was no way I was ready because everything in my life that was a problem was related to my husband. I had personally no self-responsibility at all. And I needed to go through the journey of taking self-responsibility before I could begin training with them. And when I did, it was like I had finally arrived home. So prior to that, I was a woman with a lot of energy. I could paint a painting 6 foot by 6 foot in 2 hours. So that was the amount of energy that I had. And this kahuna saw my energy and he knew he needed to channel my energy correctly. So how that relates to, as you can imagine, chopping a piece of wood with one arm. So that was directed energy to slice a piece of wood. And training with them, although I was learning how to do body work, involved things like chopping wood, collecting stones, working with nature, working with fire, water, air. And training with them was intensive. So I am university trained. I have the academic knowledge behind me. I was a dental hygienist. But yet going to train with a real kahuna is like childbirth. You go in, you dive in, and you're fully in it. And often they won't teach you by words. In fact, very seldom will they teach you by words. They'll teach you by experience. So they'll make you work 14 hours a day. And then one person of the group would get the understanding and the exercise would be over. And I never had many words with the kahuna. His eyes were on me, but he had not many words. And every time I would go back, so I would return to Hawaii when I felt the impulse, the call. And it's not a physical call, it's an energy call. So I would feel this energy call and return to him, and he would smile, "Are you ready?" And I was, "Oh yeah," like childbirth. Here we go again. Yeah. So in a way, I'm extremely fortunate. Not many have had direct experience with a kahuna. There were things like while I was training, I would be face down on the table. So in other words, I couldn't see who entered the room. He would enter the room and literally my body would vibrate beyond, measures. But in all of this, it was preparing me to go into my own darkness, into my own can of worms. And the thing that he kept saying to me every time I returned, "Do you remember?" And I would go, "Yes." And then I would go, "What am I supposed to remember?" But he knew that this information was going to come through me. So I had to go through my own can of worms, and they were pretty heavy, and it's all in the book. But I believe that once we go through the darkness, we come to the lightness. It's not the other way around. So I had to dive deep into my darkness in order to bring Akalani through. And how it happened. So I had been in training for at least 8 to 12 years. I'm not sure how long, but a long time into my training with them. And I always believe I'm under training. So even though I'm not with them now, I'm being watched. So how it happened, how the first symbol came to me is I was walking with a girlfriend on a beach in Sydney, and there was a big rock. And somehow I was placed on the rock. I didn't fall. I didn't trip. It was almost like I was placed on the rock. And I rocked backwards and forwards on this rock. It was an amazing, weird experience. And when I finished rocking, etched on my thumb was an intricate symbol. No blood drips, no nothing, as though a pen had written on my thumb. And it was my girlfriend who said, "Are you being given symbols?" She was also kahuna trained. And with that question, I shot out of my body. So I became like 20 feet tall with the question, "Are you being given symbols?" And that was how the first symbol arrived. Thereafter, they would come in different ways. Often before they would come, I would get into an agitated state. So because I was bringing through different symbols, I had to live through every condition I was bringing through. And these did include physical illnesses. So I would literally have to take everything through my body, bring it through. And as soon as I had the symbol, I would go back to normal. And fortunately, thank God, 100 times, I have very normal children. The mother was the crazy one. They were really stable, balanced. And they often could tell that I'd entered a different state. And they would say to me, "Are you in Akalani?" So then I would sit down and bring the symbols through. Sometimes I struggled to bring symbols through. There was the particular one was the masculine one. Eventually I had to go ask a man to actually physically hold me, that I could actually birth it through me. There was another time I was resisting. It was like, "Come on, guys, what do you want on me?" And I sliced my finger and it was squirting blood. And then it was, right, use the symbol, stop the bleeding. So I could stop the bleeding with the symbol. If I burned myself, I could use the energy water to stop the bleeding. And there's a beautiful story. I know I don't have to be contained. So I have a mentor friend, and he knew that I was in this, he calls me his personal witch. He said to me, "Right, my witch, go home and make me Viagra." And why not?
I think you would have a good business there.
Why not? So I go home, and in my bedroom is this blue-tongue lizard. You can't see. A big blue-tongue lizard. And that was the symbol that this is correct. So lizard often would come into my life to show me that I was on track. So the first of the Love Magic range, the first one was called Water Dragon Rising. The names all changed afterwards. And also because I knew I had to be politically correct, I got the Australian, whatever the board was, to check all my writing. So it's very nicely put, you know, for a man it's rising, for a woman it's opening. And then I needed to trial these sprays. So I had, I don't have to be restrained.
No, not here.
I had this friend, he had an erection problem. He couldn't manage, you know, to get it up. So I said, please, will you try my sprays? So he went to this party and he sprayed himself. And this woman literally took him on the kitchen bench.
What?
No, seriously. So I thought, yeah, that's cool, you know. So then I thought, right, I'm going to trial it. And I was working in Germany at this healing center. And there was a Tantra group on, and I said to the people, do you mind if I try it? So I personally sprayed this guy. And what happened was I ended in his arms, and I couldn't get out of his arms. It must have been for 20 minutes. I was like stuck to this dude. So I've learned just kind of block, you know, protect myself then. Spray.
It's like a real live love potion number 9.
It's absolutely. Somehow it removes the negative imprint that people carry. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, what you've been told is I'm useless, I can't get it up, whatever your story is, this somehow just comes in and blows it free. So yeah, those are the Love Magic sprays. Yeah,
that's go ahead.
Yeah, also about the dragon in Sydney, because I was doing this, you know, this hectic body work. I went through a phase of, is this really the right work for me? And into my lounge room walked this big lizard. So my signs come very physically if I'm asking. I preferred when they send a little feather rather than this big dragon lizard.
All right. So is it like light language, the symbols?
Okay, so the symbols are vibrational energies. So they all, there's one of them that I do share. So if you imagine the dandelion puff,
okay,
what that looks like, and imagine that vibrating.
Okay.
So that's symbol 15, and that's karma clearing. And quite honestly, that's the opposite of coronavirus.
Oh, interesting. So are you stating that this is basically your dictionary to utilize when you connect to people's energy as to what their issues are?
Yeah, but I do it in such a way. So I have this book, you know, that I wrote within these 3 years. I actually asked the person to give me a number from 1 to 228. So you take a responsibility. You tell me what number, and then I just read off the card.
Yeah, and that's what I found really interesting when I was watching you, because I was watching you on live and you had said pick a number, and I said, well, this is interesting. And I'm thinking that sometimes when a reader does that, it's just like they just pick a card and stuff like that. But then I was realizing, I was like, no, she's asking them to utilize her intuition here. This is really powerful. This is really powerful that she's using this. So I thought that was interesting.
You make a card deck that goes with it?
Yes. So what there's me able to use my hands with it. There's a card deck, there's the Love Magic sprays, the room sprays, and I can potentize anything basically.
Oh, I'm going to be shopping with you, sister. See what you got.
It is interesting of how you can be open to this, or the experiences that have this. Now, have you had some people who, you know, they say that they're closed off, but then they're approaching you, which is always the case. It's like they're curious, but they won't want to admit on things like that. Have you had some outrageous stories where people utilize this thing, like you had said, like the table and stuff like that? Has there been some people who have become like non-believers to like, this stuff does work?
So. I mean, I've had basically one person online who just couldn't open. So with the coronavirus, I just went global, working online. Before I would be present at different healing centers. So basically I've had one who couldn't. There's actually a story that comes to mind as well. So when I was doing my healing work, the body work. So originally I'm trained in really physical body work. It's like a dance, the work that I was trained in. And then the Akalani became like an energy dance. So the Kahuna trained me in the big motion dance. The Akalani became the gentle, energetic dance. So it's the energetic symbols that dance with me through the people. But there was one person that I was working with, it was with the body work, and he refused to hear me, and I could actually see real shit gotta happen. And I've never done this in my life, and I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but I literally had to slap the guy. Like, wait. Yep.
Wow.
And what happened?
He woke up. Because if it wasn't me, he was in for big time shit.
Do you think it was the physical energy of that motion of just basically slapping him awake?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've never done that, and I'll never do it again. I don't know if I'll ever do it again.
You should do it again.
I was given such
It'd be kind of refreshing if someone slapped you up and said, "Wake the fuck up." I love it.
What are you doing? I'm healing you.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah. I want to share another delightful story because I'm untamed, uncensored. So I've never actually had to advertise myself, which has been amazing. People came to me, especially for the body work. And then I was invited to go to Austria to go work at the center. And I told her, yeah, I'd come whenever I come. So I'm a very free-spirited person. Trust me, these energies have not been given to a very righteous, person. They've been given to a wild So I was invited to the center, and I said, yeah, I'll come when I come. And eventually I arrived, and I was booked out immediately. And at the center was another fella giving a lecture about heart opening. So I went to go meet him, and I went to say, hello, I'm Australian, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. He says, oh, I'm so tired. So I said to him, really? Would you like a blowjob?
I bet you his eyes probably got so big.
It just kind of fell out of my mouth. I knew what I had in mind. So according to, we don't know if he said yes or not. At any rate, I knelt down, I took his bald head, and I blew on it.
I love it. That's the best.
And of course he wasn't tired anymore. And for the next 10 years in Germany, I was booked out because of the blowjob story.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love it.
That's a pretty classic story.
Uh-huh.
I like how your energy is basically to jostle people, to wake them up, and to clear something, because it seems like that's the physical energy, and maybe that's something that Kahunas had taught you, or that's something that you had moving your body, or
it feels like that, like she's jarring something loose.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, because he did actually have a problem in his nether regions that eventually he could get a session with me, and he did clear it. So what fell out of my mouth was probably the right words. So because I live pretty uncensored, I just kind of let it fall out of my mouth. But I think often I am there to trigger, to like wake up, to move, to shift. So yeah. If it was the Kahuna's way, it certainly wasn't spoken, because, as I said, my training was in silence.
That had to be intense too, not being able to because especially when you're like, I want to learn something, and so now you're sitting with these people. So just that experience alone with few words, are you just watching? Are you just experiencing the energy? Are they doing things in front of you? Like, what was it that you felt the need or desire to keep going back and feeling that there was something there that you needed to know?
I almost feel like it's like Karate Kid, where it's so discipline training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say so, yeah. What called me back to keep going back was that this body work, I knew it was like an ancient memory in me was triggered. I knew this body work. It's very, very physical, very, very sensual. It's very, very flowing. So something in me knew this and craved it and wanted it. And you can imagine meeting someone who you know has this amazing knowledge. So there wasn't a doubt in my mind that this person was extremely knowledgeable. And I mean, this is from someone who's done university. I've lectured to dentists, that kind of information. Whereas this was incredible knowledge that he knew. And the other thing is that he knew how I was working around the world. I would get a phone call every now and then, well done, that you've done well.
They were watching you.
Yeah, I'd say still.
Wow.
I'd say the whole group is there going, yeah, we picked right.
So I just want to make sure I got the story straight. So when your first experience with the Kahunas was in Australia, they had been visiting, or you just happened to be at the right time, at the right place during everything where it was like, there's something there, even though you had to go through your, dark souls of the night, waking up kind of experience?
It was very rare. It was the first time they ever came to Australia. So it was him and 6 of his apprentices. And the apprentices gave a demonstration of the body work, which, by the way, that's also often what I do, is I'll do a demonstration of the body work. And because it's the big wave, people are caught in a minute. And in the demonstration of the body work, people will start crying and vomiting and releasing.
That's amazing.
That was the introduction to the Kahunas. When I saw this body work, it's like every light went on in my body. It's like, I know that, and I'm going to do that till the day I die. That was how strong it was.
I want to tell you something though, because I work with a collective known as the Ancients, and they've been telling me that there is some ancient technology, healing technology, that's coming to the surface. And that is exactly part of it right there, because I can hear I'm receiving while you're talking. And I'm like, that's part of it. Like, they have those Kahunas, that energy, they're using their ancient energy, their ancient technology. That's why it's so massive and powerful. I am so drawn to this now. I'm like,
I've got the shivers, which is instead of the dragon.
That's good. We don't need a dragon today right now.
Yeah, and to be honest, Akalani really became big again with the arrival of Corona. So before Corona arrived, I had this impulse. So I worked by impulse, that it's time for me to go back to Germany to work. I had this feeling it's time for me to work again. So the work, goes up and down. I don't work all the time, but I had this strong impulse. I need to go and work. Booked my tickets and everything. Then Corona happened, and it was, no, I still need to work. So it's like the antidote to Corona is this gentle little puff. It's like, think of Corona, think of the puff, and you just melt. So it is the time for these symbols that I'm holding to come out for people, for the nation. And it went, really, I've been patient with it. I've had the grace to be able to be patient with it, because it was brought out, I think, in 2003 is, I think, when I forgot my first symbol. I think it was the 11th of the 11th, 2003, the first symbol.
So how many symbols are you up to now?
This is a series of 28. So I'll show you. So this is the booklet. This is the booklet of the 28. And the booklet goes into more details. So it goes into mother, father, ancestral work. My work is also very much about ancestral, because when we're in a loop, the chances are it's ancestral karma. And it's, in order to break that loop, one needs an energy force or somebody else to help break that loop.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, and another beautiful story about Akalani. So I was bringing through Akalani, and I was building a house in Byron Bay. Not I, but I had a builder. And I chose the builder by energy. And he kept asking me what I do, and I was like, didn't really tell him much. But while he was building the house, birds would land on him. like the angels were just wiping past him. And it came to the end of the building project, and I was short of money, as one does. And I said to him, could I give you an exchange? Could I teach you Akalani? So until that point, I was the only person who had experienced it personally. So I was bringing it through. I could feel it. So he became my first student, and he learned how to use Akalani. And we're talking about a builder's hands, rough, rough hands.
Yeah.
When he did Akalani, his hands were as soft as a baby's bum.
Ooh.
You couldn't tell the difference between his hands and my hands. And when I received it the first time, so this is the first time a person is giving it to me, I felt like I landed on pink fluffy clouds.
That's really amazing. Oh, I'm having a little bit of feedback here, so hopefully
It's the energy, because I'm getting it too. The energy is really intense between the three of us right now. So sorry, guys, it happens.
Yeah, we had a little bit last night too when Leeorah and I were on. I was like,
when you start bringing in the energy of a collective of energy that big, like for me, it's the ancients, and so whatever she's accessing, you have to have so much space, and it's so powerful that it will screw up technology, everything. It's so crazy.
This is why sometimes our lights go out, our mics go.
Johanna disappears.
Johanna disappears. It just happens. So I need to ask you the name Akalani. Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah.
Like, how did it come about?
Okay, that's another good story. So I had brought all this through, and then it was time to name it, and I had no idea how to name it. But I'd heard about this guru in India, and I decided I needed to go see him for him to name my product. I mean, I don't know what I'm thinking, Indian, Hawaiian. Anyway, I go to India, and I have this journey. I get to the airport, and I'm literally kidnapped to another place. It was all so roundabout. But I did actually, the guru asked me to heal him, to work with him. So it was a great honoring from the guru. But he wouldn't name it. Of course, Indian, you don't name. So he didn't name it. He just honored me. And then when I got back to Australia, my daughter found a Hawaiian dictionary. And it was through the dictionary the name came. So Aka means chords and Lani means heaven. So it's chords to heaven.
I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's symbols or chords to heaven. But naming, I found also, because I write books, naming often comes later. And the last thing is not necessarily the first thing. So
it's true. And it's kind of annoying because I've created 2 modalities, and it took me forever to name them. It just did. And that's like the first thing I want. I'm like, just give me the name.
So, and this is exactly why I wanted to have you on the show, because, Johanna has her own personal experiences. I do as well. But we really want to show people that when they're in their light, when they have that aha moment, or they're getting channeled messages, or that desire to be near something, if they follow it, it really can open up so much for other, things like this healing modality that you came up with. So I need to ask you, what is some advice you would give to someone? Because it can be overwhelming when you all of a sudden have this desire, let's say, of seeing this dancing and going, what is it doing to me? Or why does this mean to me? What made you at that point, just go, this is something that I need to do and have part of it? Because you were really passionate about it. You said this is part of your life. You're no longer, as soon as you were into that movement, the physical movement of that, what just triggered you to just go?
it's an impulse.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's such a strong impulse. And I mean, when I stepped onto that path, I gave up. I divorced my husband. I mean, my whole life changed 360 degrees. So it's not necessarily that you're going to step into rose petals.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I understand. We both do. We get it.
Stepping into the tiger's den.
Yeah.
And it takes courage and guts. So you can choose to have a very sweet life, or you can step up.
It's a choice, man. That calling, it is. It's not an easy choice for anybody to make, not by any means. But I commend you for doing it, because not a lot of people have the courage to do that.
And to not so, what happens a lot, especially when I was early on my, with my journey, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what was going on with me. I just knew that I had to do specific things, specific actions. And I was really hard headed on it. I was like, nope, this is the way it's got to be. Nope. And now Johanna knows me. She's been part of that journey. But, it was hard. It was really hard. I had to strip my entire life and I had to really start. And I'm just at the precipice of now seeing things of where I'm supposed to be. So I'm still part of that process. I'm still young in it. But it's really inspirational to see how much you went through and how much it's like grown, and you're actually helping people with this, and it's you're feeling the calling on there, and it's not just about the modality, it's what feels good to you. It's
and
really
you're having
beautiful.
fun with it.
And even we talk about young. When I started the body work, maybe I was in my 30s, I felt very young to be doing such ancient work, because often I would think, it was amazing. I really felt, I'm doing such ancient work. How can I know what I know about these people that land up on my table?
Right.
And I learned never to doubt what is being presented to me. If I'm in session, I will not doubt. So whatever it is, however ridiculous, if it is a slap, so be it. But I've learned, just don't doubt. Don't doubt.
That's a good message right there in itself, because doubting yourself it just creates, it disconnects you from that flow of energy.
Yeah, keeps you small. So you can live a small, happy life, or you can step into what you're supposed to do. It takes courage. It really takes courage, but also such freedom with it, and such doubtless. This is, for me, it's doubtless. I have had the top in the world behind me, so I do have that courage. And to be trained by Kahunas is pretty rare, and to be with a master is pretty rare. So.
That sounds amazing, though. I kind of am jealous of that. I'm like, I want to go work with the big Kahunas.
Yeah, Johanna's always had this inkling for Hawaii. Like Hawaii's yes, like she always.
When I land there, I've been there a few times, and when I land there, I instantly melt, and I'm like, I'm home. I just feel it in my soul. I'm home, and so it is my mission to live there. I'm getting there.
Yeah, as soon as I step on that land, I am love. It's just...
It's magical.
Magical. It's also dangerous for me because, I'm kind of attracted to anything or anyone.
So what do you think are the biggest things that Akalani here? Is it more of the stuff of intimacy fears? What is it really? Because it seems like is it trauma in general? What do you think it really focuses mainly on?
It's pretty limitless. I can approach anything, but I think it's shock based. Any shocks or traumas in the being, that's where it really meets it. But because, like the wind, the ocean, everything is met. So everything can be met in it.
How long does it take if you have a session with somebody? Like, what's the process?
Under an hour. I'm incredibly fast. So I'm faster than the people receiving. So usually I'll get the information before. And the other thing is, I honestly don't like people attaching to me, like, wanting sessions from me all the time. You come do it and just go on to your life. The other amazing thing is when I did the body work, so I'm fully intimate in contact with people, the next day I wouldn't even recognize them. It's just like, go. I don't hang on. I don't even remember the story. I'm fully in it for that time, and then it's gone. It's I am a sensitive, of course.
Yeah.
Needless to say.
Yeah. What, because you mentioned you're an author too. I definitely know you're an artist. You got beautiful artwork behind you. Have you found that it's all kind of infusing and merging together in some aspect or form? Or do you think it's still separate and, you still enjoy other things? Or do you feel like it's kind of becoming something part of Akalani?
It's a difficult one because I go through the different phases. So I stopped painting for a while, and then I'm like a lunatic. You can't even talk to me. Canvases are flying off the walls. And then I have a break, and then writing can happen. Akalani is, I guess, always, because it's infused in me, it's always there, I guess.
That's what I was going to ask you, is if your paintings and your words are infused with this ancient
Right.
technology, because that's what I feel. I feel like
Yeah.
everything you touch is infused with this ancient technology.
It could very well be, yeah.
Yeah. It does feel like that. It does feel like that. Even when, I mean, it feels almost sensual. Like it feels very intimate.
Gentle. Like
Yes.
big, but gentle. Like that big, gentle teddy bear.
Yeah. Yeah. So sensuality or whatever is who I am. And it's also been a lifelong of acceptance, because I come in a big package, and big packages are not necessarily supposedly sexy, but it's something
it's becoming the new sexy. Let's rephrase that. It's becoming the new sexy.
At 65, I'm really fine with it. Absolutely.
You will probably really love our guest that we're having next week. And you know what? Everything happens for a reason, because I really wasn't thinking it was going to go too much into this direction, Johanna. But I was
thinking the same thing. I was like, thumbs up.
This is like a perfect interlude, but this is how it works for Johanna and I. We set guests up and we're like, well, that just kind of introduced our next guest. We have Bella Crystal coming on, and we're talking about sexual energy and the powers of it, and sensuality and all of that. So it's really interesting to see somebody who's using their body. And literally, it sounds like that's something that is kind of portrayed in the Kahunas, where they're using their physical body, these movements that are triggering something that is primal. It almost feels primal.
It does. I'm like sitting here wanting to dance right now. I have to like calm myself.
It's totally primal, and so is the sexual energy, and it is a total mix of that. And often people who know me, and they go, oh, you're so spiritual, how can you be sexual? It's like, I ain't
they're not. Why do they have to be separated? That would be my question.
So, it is who I am. And by the way, the Kahunas chose you according to how you moved. In my particular I move like a big African mama, And when I work, that's another amazing thing. When I work, is my physicality changes. I shapeshift.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So my kids could see this, like their mother suddenly becomes something else. So I shapeshift when I work, and then back to normal, everything gone.
Is it because I'm so curious on what like this movement looks like. Is it just unique and intimate with each individual, or is it something where it's like you have specific moves that you do?
It is specific moves, so it's very flowing, it's very, you use your whole body. You kind of melting with the other body by using your body. So it's really very physical. So I become one with the one who's on the table. It starts like that, but because my work is very shamanically driven, that's only the opening. Then it will move to whatever needs to happen. I mean, I can pick people up and whatever, turn them around. And the interesting thing, so that's the body work, the full body work. But when I did my session on a client who had lots of body work, I did the Akalani. Akalani is still from the outside. So you just see my hands on the person or not on the person, because I can do it on Zoom, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
When I did it on this woman, she started to vomit. And then, you've really hit core stuff.
Yeah.
So, but even now with the Zoom, I'm just like to this guy in Scotland, my hands are on you now, feel it, just like, because now it's just working. And I love it, because now I'm worldwide without actually having to fly in an airplane.
Yeah, technology is amazing how it's allowed us to do this.
Yeah. Especially with the idea of energy. Energy is everywhere. So really it is something that you can utilize to get to heal people. And I think that's a lot of, I know for, some people who are just getting into it or not, that's one of the hardest things for people to realize is not needing something physical, because we are programmed to think that we need to go to a doctor and we get a physical like pill, or we get something physical to make us feel better. So the idea of somebody doing hand motions or I'm just going to connect to you seems really far-fetched for a lot of people, because it's like, that feels weird. What could they possibly be doing until they actually experience it?
Till they feel that energy when they're not with you, then they
I mean, there's been times, Johanna, remember you did a couple healings on me and I felt you. Like, I was like, hey, are you working on like my arm area? And afterwards you're like, yeah, I was over on this side. I was like, I was like, I literally felt it. Like, so there are times when you are connecting to it and you just allow it. You allow, that part. That's where it really is that aspect, is when people are open to it. Sometimes I think, and maybe Leeorah, you can tell us this too, and what you think on it. Do you feel that some people subconsciously come to you and don't even realize it, or they're there for a message and they're like, they don't know why they're there?
Often I would feel even like their ancestors brought them to me, or if they had aborted babies, something else was bringing them to me. So if there's an abortion, then there's a lot of shock, and that needs to be addressed. So the unborn baby brought them to me. Because if you can imagine, I'm working in Germany in this tiny, tiny, tiny little village, and people were driving 7 hours for a 1 hour session with not one piece of advertising.
Yeah. It's it's like a soul contract. It's that magnetic energy. I have to come here. And I agree with her. It's always the ancestors or, your team working behind the scenes to align. Because, I mean, how Tanya and I met, how me and a lot of people in my life met. It's totally like mind-blowing stories of accidents or, coincidences or alignments where like, I don't know. It's just amazing when I hear these stories. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think coronavirus, forgive me, but I think it's actually been a good thing, because it's made us stop, it's made us go within, and it's making us connect on a new level.
Yeah. A lot of people are purging.
Yeah.
There's a lot of purging going on.
Hello.
Yeah.
I didn't even question that when that happened. I was like, well, makes sense. I mean, you're purging. Yeah. What, I mean, I know we're getting close here I feel like there's so much more I want to ask you on a personal level. What, so because when Akalani came to you, were you actually doing sessions, or were you a healer in that aspect beforehand, just doing angel cards, or did you introduce this to come in? Like, how did you get started on this? And when it became more open, like you said, okay, now I have clients, now I'm doing this.
So I was already working big time with the body work. So I was already known as a healer. So it was actually a gentle transition. So when I was at the center in Germany, they could either have one or the other session. So the one is you're naked, it's oil, it's full on body work.
Yeah.
Or the other session is less time. The body work is 2 hours. This is an hour. It's a lot more so-called gentle, but deeper. So it became, a mix of both. Nowadays, it is just Akalani. And the Akalani angel cards came once I had received the 28 symbols. Then I made a set of angel cards to go with the symbols. So I could pick, if I'm face to face, you pick a card. If not, you pick a number. So that all came after the love, magic, etc. came after I had received the Akalani. So it's all part of the Akalani range.
Do you sell your angel cards for people to buy?
I'm often just give, but they are available. Of course, they are available. I've never set up a Shopify or whatever.
Well, as a reader, I was really intrigued by it, and I was like, "This isn't," because I love pulling in numerology and so forth. But there was something about you that I was like, "I need to know more about the story." Now it makes sense because because there's too much stuff lining up here, and I go, "Aha!" I'm having one of those moments, Johanna. Is like, We're having another guest on here. who's talking about sexual energy, physicality, utilizing your body. I feel very strongly that's something where I need to utilize more in my own life, is being able to go into my body more. And I use my body as my dictionary. So when I do my readings, that's my body. Johanna does the same thing. She uses her body as her dictionary. So it's really interesting to have you on board here and talk about this. And then, you know, I really just want to showcase to people what's out there and these different tools that they can use, but also what's calling to them or what intrigues them about something or even a person or reaching out.
Well, and not even that, but the no competition thing, because everybody I mean, we all know what we have to do in order to make space to open up for these types of downloads and realizations. And everybody does it differently in some way, shape, or form, you know? And so it's just, it's so awesome to see so many different people and the ways that they do it. Like there's room for everybody, you know, it's all needed. It's all required. And this beautiful sacred energy. I mean, we're literally walking into the divine feminine and that Christ consciousness right now. So this is all beautifully timed, you know, with her and then with Bella right after. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
That life force energy, you know, because that's what it is. It's the life force energy.
And if you look how it's, you know, society try to push it down.
Yeah.
From away, you know, pulls you.
It's not happen no more. They can't shove us down no more.
They can't shove us down no more.
No more. Yeah.
So what I'm curious now, with you being within this full-fledged, what are the doors that have opened for you? I mean, minus the whole COVID thing and all that things. What are some of the new doors that you are seeing or you're excited about? Because this is constantly growing. You are constantly considering yourself a mentor, which is amazing. That's how every healer should act, I think.
Right.
You're always a mentor. Like you're always being, you know, guided. You're learning. But what doors has this opened up for you? I mean, can you even imagine your life without it at this point?
It is who I am, so I can't. But I've also seen how my energy wants to move in the time of COVID. And what I've done recently is a fundraiser for a friend of mine who has this nutritional product that is saving people in South Africa and basically could save around the world. So I used my energy to make a concert. And this concert was phenomenal. People that had never performed ever have now been picked up by other people. And it's like, what can you do in this time of COVID? You know, how can you give? And it was the most amazing feeling. 14,000 meal portions were made in this. It was a 3-hour event. And so that's where my energy is also. I feel we also need to give, you know, it's one thing. So this is like where I'm giving. But the beauty of it is there was one performer on it that, I mean, he can have his whole show. He was so amazing. And this was, again, a few people pulling in people, you know, just an idea. Have an idea. How can you help? How can you give? And it grows.
Right.
So it's you could get miserable and negative in the time of COVID. Poor me, oh dear, oh dear.
Right, exactly.
Get out of it. How can you give? Where can you give?
Or if you're bored, that's when genius is born, you know, when you start creating.
You've always said that, Johanna, even with this. You're like, no, this is where everything comes up. These are where the ideas come up.
When you're in the void, when you're in the space where there's like nothing to do and nowhere to go, that's when genius is born. I mean, look at Buddha, for crying out loud, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And for myself as well, I realize every time I get to that boredom or, you know, something's brewing, something come up, and I just wait. And then this concert emerged, and, you know, people who had never emceed were now MCs and poets and musicians. And
so it was kind of like an online concert kind of aspect from it. Wow, that's cool.
It was an online concert. The sound was pretty shitty, but it was an online concert.
I just want to be your best friend. Can we be friends?
Listen, I freak a lot of people out. Let me tell you.
No, man, you don't freak me out. I'm like, you're my kind of people. Let's hang out.
I already told Johanna when I said, you're going to be fine. I was like, you're going to really love Leeorah. I was like, I really think, yeah.
Yeah.
So what what piece of advice, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what piece of advice could you give to somebody who might be interested in Akalani, or just like, starting out, or would it be like, because if they're called to you, they're probably going to get a reading, or they're trying to want to use a product, right?
Yeah.
But what if it comes more than that? Because you said that you're now mentoring on there. Is this something where you think you're going to be mentoring a little bit more? Are you going to be expanded on that?
Are you going to be teaching
Yeah,
people it?
Mhm.
I have trained people before. I don't know how a training on Zoom will go. So that will be very interesting. That will be an experiment.
Mm.
But yes, no, I have trained people. As I say, the builder was the first one. And even if he doesn't use it for the next 10 years, when he uses it, it's as strong as ever. So to me, that was the most phenomenal experience of training someone who had not been in the new age or in nothing new age, hammer and tools.
Now, how did he take that? Was he open to it?
Totally.
Or did you have to convince him?
No, totally. Because building the house was so unusual for him. He knew something was special.
Okay.
I had potentized the land before it got built with Akalani energy. So
now, can you clear land with that energy? Because Tanya could use that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So it's something like Reiki, but actually I'd say different.
Yeah.
So how you can actually look at it.
Reiki's the gateway drug to energy healing. That's all it is. Sorry, people who like Reiki. That's what it is. It's the gateway drug.
I've never considered it that, but now I might have to consider that for it.
It is. I'm serious. It just opens the door, and then you're like, okay, there's something better.
That was amazing to work with someone who had never done it, who did it, and I just went, oh my God.
So have you stayed in touch with him? Does he use it for himself or anything?
Yes, he does. And we keep saying we'll do a session on each other, but we haven't lately. So, but a lot of deep respect, a lot of deep respect. When he trained in Akalani, he wanted to throw away his hammers and tools. He was like, no, this is for me.
Wow.
No, it's too soon. It's way too soon.
So let me ask you this. When you do a session on somebody, and let's say the man who had issues with his potency, being able to hold an erection or whatever. So you go, you do your thing, you clear it. Is that it? Is it done forever? Or is it something that it's like, this is a temporary, get your shit together, change your habits?
So in his case, I mean, he talks about it all the time, and I haven't used his name. He will talk about it. I think he was misfiring. There was something going on. And I picked up from his childhood some misfiring that I recalibrated, and it was sorted. Because he said he was heading towards nappies, So then, he was recalibrated.
So you're basically changing it in his DNA, in the DNA.
It sounds like it. I mean, it almost sounds like, it sounds like that's what's happening, is there's a restructuring almost in that level. Yeah. It's almost like healing seals and taking away things that are blockages that are been in there for quite some time, even maybe not in this lifetime.
Exactly. Yeah. I also look a lot to past, to ancestors, all curses, all past lives. And usually, so why I also like working online is also I can use WhatsApp. They don't see me because when I go into it, I mean, I'm really like, I become this.
I'm really curious now. I really want to have a session with you.
Me too.
I'm all about it.
I just want to experience it.
I want to experience it. And that's the thing. What happens this is why we have the show, The Breakdown, is that Johanna and I see something, we're like, we should just try it, see what happens. But it sounds pretty cool. I like the idea of utilizing your body the way that you're saying, and I'm just so fascinated with it. Like, what is this about? But I'm sure every person that you come,
I just want to see what comes up, just to test it.
I'm sure every person you have is a different experience, or something new comes up, or you can use something from your toolkit. Like you said, you go into past lives or something, whatever it comes in that they need healing on. But it definitely feels it does feel what we had discussed at the pinpoint is trauma. It seems like there's definitely something of healing of trauma here. So that's really interesting. And I love, you mentioned how you switch over from your creativity to artist. Here's the thing. I am an artist. I'm a photographer. I'm a writer. I know that art is very sexual. It is using your sexual energy. So that is a buildup, a burst. So it's really interesting, and something that I feel very passionate about is when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, when you get focused on something and you're an artist, it's like, get the fuck out of my way. I got to do this. And you're just doing it. You're like in it. You're not even experiencing
like
anything around you.
Where you shut everything down,
Yeah. I mean, there's been times where I'll be working on something or I'm making something and someone tries to come in my office. I'm like, no, like you're focused. Is that the same feeling that you get when you're in the dancing? Like, is that what the same feeling is?
Actually, it's very similar. So I used to do live art. I would have two dancers in front of me. There'd be an audience of 50. I wouldn't know how many behind me. I couldn't even hear them, see them, know that they were there. So I would be focused on the two dancers and my art. It would just be a conversation between us. And then at the end, the dancer would dance with me. That was like the cherry on the top. So how I get my own dances. But
That's awesome.
That focused energy where nothing actually, I mean, I didn't even know how many people, and I actually didn't care. So it's the same when I work, it's just like, it's a focus, it's a honing in of all this energy.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Well, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I went ahead and put her website up here, leeorah.com. But let us know, what is there, because this is our shameless plug time because we're getting close to the end here. What can people experience when they get to your website, or how do they reach you, like Johanna said?
Just enjoy the website because they'll see all aspects of me. Someone tried to tell me to hone my website to only be a healer, and it's like, you cannot hone me down. You cannot put me in one box. I am all those boxes, and you get the big package wherever you meet me, if it's on a canvas or in the session. I will not be tamed. I will not be boxed. I think that's a message for every woman on this planet. Please.
I love it. And can they get your books as well on your website, or is that available on Amazon or?
Available on Amazon.
Awesome.
So, 3 of them are.
Awesome. Where do you think, what's the start for a good book? Because I mean, they're all, I'm sure, hard to your whole, but can you give us a little bit of explanation of what each one those are or what they run into?
Okay, so Naked Soul is the kind of overall one, and it's about my travels, and that's really a lovely one. And that's got the blowjob of the soul.
It's a great story. I mean, it really is. That alone will make you buy that book.
Right.
Puppets on a String is about my experience in Romania with a dodgy film crew who the FBI most probably are after. And
that's interesting.
We should just talk about these kind of stories. Yes. I mean, these are entertaining.
And Emotional Fat is about my journey of obesity and my cousins of anorexia. So that's pretty intense, if that's your calling. But Naked Soul, I think, is the one that's the overall, tells you all.
I will definitely be checking that out.
Are you training people? Will you be training people in person in Australia? Because I have students that are in Australia that I would love to connect to you if you're going to be doing that. Because I know one in particular right now that I think would be right up her alley.
Yeah, I can in Australia, especially in Byron Bay. It's easy for me. So yeah.
I'll have to refer her to you.
Yeah. Funnily enough, it's like Germany became my place where I worked. It's called the Sonnenstrahl Hotel, and it was, I was fed, looked after, and there I worked, and Australia came on holiday, but it's kind of reversing. So yeah. As it does.
Well, we really appreciate you on the show. I'm sure we're going to probably want to have you back at one time, even if it's to discuss something, because you have great stories.
I know. This was a great episode. I love it.
Guys, just a reminder to go ahead. If you have not subscribed and you're on YouTube, make sure that you are subscribing so that you can be notified of all our future updates. And also, we really appreciate it. And if you feel guided, to hit the like and the love button for us.
And the share button.
and share as much as you can. And if you are watching this not live, let us know. We want to know if you're replaying this. So hashtag replay as well, because we really appreciate to see people who are on board and what they're interested in. And as a reminder, guys, if you have any topics or things that you want us to touch on, reach out to us at circus@breakdownlive.com. Okay. So those are just a couple announcements. We are going to have Bella on next week, which is kind of an interlude to this, which is amazing. My gosh, Leeorah, I hope you can watch it. I hope it's something, if you don't mind watching in the morning. I think you would be you would find a lot of information.
She is a master of tantra and sexual energy and utilizing it for healing, and you guys are going to love her. So
yeah. We're really excited. And we had her on the show before with the Gene Keys with Ashley. So you guys might recognize her if you watch that show. Well, thanks again, guys. We will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.